Your personal circumstances. What are your circumstances right now? What are your circumstances right now where resilience and thinking differently might be helpful? Myself, like the rest of the country, over the last year, exercise has been minimal. I probably have been eating like an adolescent boy whose parents are on holiday. Those are opportunities for me to begin taking those circumstances and looking at them through the lens of resilience. A resilient person at 60 years old, a male, should not be eating a whole, freshly baked yellow cake with fudge frosting, as an example. So, we have to look at our circumstances and let those circumstances be the thing that ignites our desire to say, I need to do something else. I need to think of something else. And there's pros and cons to all I there's pros and cons to all of this because everybody may not be on the same page. Over the course of the last year, I'm having people calling me up telling me what the mortality rates are for COVID. And, oh, did you hear about this? Well, there's not really a lot that I can do with that information except be upset, maybe be sad or scared. But those aren't choices I want to make. That doesn't fit into the mindset that I know is required to live in a world where respect is challenged. There's no global respect for our institutions. Authority is being challenged in every single way. We don't know what's going to happen. Some of our kids are in school, some of them aren't. This state's open, this one isn't. There's so much confusion on top of not really knowing where to go for information that you can absolutely sort of rely on. So you have to be able to say, look, door A, door B, I'm going to pick door B because if I make a commitment to resilience, and just referring back to me baking that cake, which I did, by the way, it was a bundt cake and it was delicious. But I can look at what my circumstances are and I can say, you know what, these are the improvement areas that I want to work on. And may I also mention that while you all are corrections, I know that there are some of you that might be working from home. Working from home is not as easy as everybody thinks it is. You know, you do need to get dressed, you need to get up on time, you need to go to the office. It's a whole thing. It's a new ritual of habits that we really need to focus on. That's what all this is. Resilience helps build boundaries. It helps you build sort of an infrastructure of what you want your life to be right now in this moment, not what it was in the 80s, which I think was my favorite time. Disco, I still hear it in my head. Uh, it was very loud just a moment ago. Gloria Gaynor, is that you? Anyway, but it's a decision and you have to make that decision and you have to commit to it. And the commitment is hard because you have to sort of have some boundaries around what behaviors are going to support you from other people and which are not. Rice cakes and unsweetened peanut butter, oh my dear. Well, it's all about the carbs for me these days. So as long as I stay under 200, I feel I have kind of carte blanche on some things. But the rice cakes and the unsweetened peanut butter, that sounds more like a punishment to me than a choice. But bon appetit. So, I want to just take you for a moment. I need for you to understand what we do to our brains when we don't do these things. So, here's a picture or an image of the brain, and we talk about things like cortisol. We talk about a drop in serotonin and dopamine. We talk about disrupted sleep patterns and the increase of glucocorticoid steroids. You increase the risk of Alzheimer's and other types of dementia. And even to a lesser extent, what you find, because this area here, the front part of the brain, this is where our decision making and our critical thinking skills are housed. However, if we're stressed and our sleep is disrupted, we also then experience emotional distress. There's no way you can't have both of those. And then because we're feeling kind of cattywampus or we're not feeling ourselves, we begin to want to feel better, and that informs what we eat. I can't be the only person who, when I'm completely out of control, I crave like Twinkies or those little raspberry cakes from Hostess, all weird things. That then creates another cluster of circumstances. All of them conspire to impact our ability to think through things, which is important. How many times do people have such a big reaction over what they perceive as a problem, but their reaction turns out to be, in fact, bigger than the problem itself? This is one of the reasons that happens. Also, when we get stressed out, I think I told you, in the short term, you can put your cell phone and your keys down, or like when we used to go places, you put your phone down in the house and you can't remember where it is. So short-term memory is impacted by this as well. So when we're thinking about mindset, the emphasis on the mind, and then to understand the brain, mood, productivity, and stress and fear. And hintity, hint, hint, regardless of how much news you've taken in, you can't escape it. So we say, well, I don't watch network TV. Okay. Are you on Facebook? Are you on TikTok or Twitter or any of those things, on Reddit? Because if you have any of those that you're interacting with, that's going into your mind also and creating these things. So you really do need to be aware. Is this a lot of work in today's world? It is. But I've got to tell you, I really enjoy not being crazy. I enjoy not feeling like I'm out of control. I enjoy feeling like, you know what? I know how bad things look, and maybe it's true. Maybe it's worse than I know. I don't know the answer to that, and I don't care. What is important is that right now in this moment, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, I don't want any of this. I'm going to make different choices regardless of what's going on out there. That's just kind of how it has to be. We're in a point where we really have to focus on what we can control more and focus less on things we can't control. And one of those is our mindset. Mindfulness is also a word that has come into common usage quite a lot. And everybody might have a slightly different way of looking at mindfulness, but there's just a phrase I think sums it up pretty well, which is be here now. Just be here now. Don't be here and be texting. Don't be here and sending email. Don't be here and mentally you're someplace else. Now, for this webinar, obviously, I'm not saying that, because maybe you've got this on and you're listening to it in the background while you're having your lunch or something like that, and that's okay. But if you're talking with your children or a spouse or your manager or your staff members, give them your full attention. That is hard. Our attention spans have been so negatively impacted by the world we've lived in the last year, where we started off prior to COVID with an attention span between 8 and 10 seconds, which is still very short. Now we're around 4 to 6 seconds, so says the Harvard School of Public Health. That's the attention span of a bird, quite frankly. So mindfulness is about controlling where your thoughts are going, controlling where your thoughts are going. And if you have thoughts that tell you this will never work out, and you have a lot of negative self-talk, then you probably need to pay more attention to this than others. But mindfulness is a psychological process of purposefully bringing one's attention to experiences occurring in the present moment without judgment, which one develops through the practice of meditation and other training. I don't know that I believe this now. I think that you can get to mindfulness in a variety of ways. By sitting in your chair right now and feeling the chair, you feel the back of the chair, you feel the seat of the chair, your feet are on the floor, you're listening to my voice, you're looking at a screen, being in this moment, not thinking about performance improvement plans or reports I have to get out, or I've got to check on mom. Not that any of those things aren't important, but in this space, it's important to just be where you are. Here's another reason why being where you are is important. Why mindfulness is important. If you have a leg in yesterday and another leg in tomorrow, The moment that you have the most power, you've stepped right over it and you're not maximizing it. If we could go back and change the past, I'm not sure that I would be sitting here right now. I'd probably be in Monte Carlo living with Dame Shirley Bassey. See, her. But I think that once you value saying to yourself, what am I thinking? What am I doing? What goals do I have, whether they're short term or long? Because the goal can be tomorrow, I'm going to get up and make the bed and put all the breakfast dishes in the sink. Your goal could be anywhere from that to, you know, building on that and doing bigger things. But we're not judging any of it. So the judgment is really important. How many of you are beating yourselves up right now for something? There's a program I'm doing, I think in another couple of months, called Guilt-Free Parenting, because a lot of parents are feeling a lot of stress right now over that whole business. So, the idea is to say, this moment that I'm here mindfully is where my power is. Power over my thoughts, power over what my actions and my feelings are going to be. Yesterday and focusing on yesterday brings on sort of a sense of depression. People report feeling sad, and because the past is over, people tend to ascribe more positive things to it and use more rosy language. And in people who are future oriented, they have more anxiety. They have more anxiety. It's coming, Dacia. So future thinking and overlooking the moment is anxiety producing. Being past focused or historically focused produces some sadness. So mindfulness, be where your shoes are. Just be here now. Just be here now. Even when the moment might be unpleasant. How's that? So I have some steps here that I think are important, and they're important because they work. One thing is to set aside some time, set aside some time. Um, there's no tools, you don't have to buy anything. I think that the considerations are different for those of you that live at home alone. If you have small children, or if you share the house with somebody else, even a dog, you're going to have to figure out, how am I going to set some time aside to just see how I'm feeling and to say, where are we today? I had some concerns, just do a little scan of your thoughts. Set aside some time to, as my mother would say, just come to yourself. There's a book that I use a lot. In fact, I pulled it out last night because I did set up a meditation room here in my home just yesterday. I was going to use it as an exercise room, but let's just say for right now, it's for meditation. This book is called Meditation: Interventions to Rewire the Brain by Jeff Tarrant. Tina, if you could put that in the chat feature, that would be great. And I'll send you a copy of this. In fact, it's in the back of it's in this presentation, but we'll send you a reading list. And what's so nice about this book is that there's an assessment that you can take. It's not a long one. You just answer some questions, and it really guides you to specific meditations based on what concerns you might have. So if I'm worried about money, I'm worried about things in the future, I'm worried about something that hasn't happened yet, I'm dealing with something that has happened that was not positive. All of those things, you just sort of answer some quick questions, and it identifies what kind of, oh, that's great. The mindful athlete. Yes, yes. And I'm seeing some other messages here too. Letting our judgments roll by is very hard. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. But you know what? There's no power in judgment. There's just no power in it. Why would I do that? And I know that that's been a favorite pastime in this country. For heaven's sake, we built shows around it. Remember all of that? Those reality programs and all of that, and they're on the island. We all hate you. We're voting you off. Nobody likes you. We built this into the fabric of our existence, and we've got to now weed that out. So this book is very helpful with that. And the language of it is easy also. And then we also have The Mindful Athlete by George Mumford as another recommended reading. Listen, this is the time to read more and not less. We don't really know what the skills are going to be, when the dust settles on whatever is going to be the next thing for us. This is the time that we need to read more and learn more, because the more we invest in ourselves, you guys are investing now by coming to this and all of that, the more we do that, the stronger we become, and it doesn't really matter what's about to happen, because we feel a little more stable in our steps. Observe the moment as it is. The goal of mindfulness is simple: pay attention to the present moment and not judge it. So I know it sounds sarcastic when I say some things like, the other day, a friend of mine passed away. And so it was so interesting, because when I was talking to people and letting them know that Leslie had passed away, people were like judging. Oh, well, she was overweight. She probably had diabetes. And I'm thinking to myself, well, now what does that have to do with her passing away? Isn't the bigger story that she's passed away? So we have this thing where we want to judge whether it's a grief response, a stress response, a depressive response. It's challenging. But you know what? When we judge the situation, that's when all of our emotions kick in: fear, anxiety. I got to tell you, I don't like those feelings. And at 60 years old, I can finally say I'm happy living without them. So be in the moment and just say it's not good or bad. What's in this moment? Well, in the example that I gave is my friend has passed away, and I'm sad about that. And I'm not judging why she died, where she died, what the whole backstory was. I'm just sort of focused on the event itself. That's kind of a dramatic example, but Diana says, don't act on your judgments. Absolutely. Don't act on them. We're also in the process of rolling out, and you can thank Jamie Moss. In fact, all of you need to send her a big thank you, because she has created a curriculum for all of corrections that really does meet a lot of different needs. So, send a thank you, because gratitude is also important in mindfulness. Letting the judgments roll by. When we notice that they come up, just, yeah, that's a judgment. Oh, the title of the book is Meditation Interventions to Rewire the Brain. There are so many worksheets in here that help you understand, what I should be doing, and, what meditation I should be doing. It's a helpful book. The book is about $12, I think, on Amazon. And get ready, because I have another book that I was reviewing prior to our time today, that I felt would be helpful in your effort to use mindfulness as a tool for dealing with today, right? Oh, the title of the book is Meditation Interventions. Can you see it? Oh, maybe you can't see it. So Meditations Rewire the Brain. And Jeff Tarrant is the name of the author. Yes, thank you, David. I mean, that's Tina. Thank you, Tina. So let the judgments roll by. Just let them roll by. You notice them, because you don't want to look at something and say, oh, I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge. I'm not going to judge. You just say, wow, I'm really trying to judge that right now. And can I give you another example? Another example is, I had a photographer here some time ago, and she came, and she was a really interesting looking person. She had pink and purple hair. She was about 55 or 60 or so, around my age. She weighed about 400 pounds, and she had these cat eye glasses with lots of rhinestones, and a Hello Kitty t-shirt and backpack, in which she had all of her photography equipment. And I looked at her and I caught myself, because the initial I was going, what is this? And then I thought, oh my God. And I said to her, oh my gosh, I am so happy to meet you. You have really got a story to tell. Boy, I can't wait to hear it. So, I mean, you get to a place where when you know that your thoughts can go this way, you kind of double down and make sure they go another way. And that's just one example that I can give you from my own personal experience. You know, you let those judgments roll by, return to observing the moment as it is, you know, always coming back to right now, you know, and this applies to a bill being due next month. Well, today is the 15th, it's not the 1st, you know, and bring it back to today, bring it back to today. And sometimes even because I have an odd sense of humor. Sometimes if people's conversations are getting too far afield, sometimes I will say to them, can we just get to, I don't know, 1 o'clock? Can we just get to the end of the day first before we worry about things coming up next week and next month? But that's what happens. That's the benefit. So you return to the present moment, not just in one of those times where you're meditating on your own, but you can still take this practice into your interactions with people. So it seems if we forget, yeah, exactly. That's all. You know, we're all doing the best we can. This is not about making anybody feel guilty because we can all do better at this. I have to tell you, having a lot less anxiety, a lot less worry, and more faith in myself is one of the byproducts of mindfulness. And whether you're just inventorying your thoughts, you know, your thoughts aren't facts, by the way. You know, just taking a look at all those things that create in us a sense of hopefulness or a sense of despair. Those thoughts, those actions in us that create stress and strife or create harmony and productivity. You're at the apex of all of that. All you have to do is select door A or door B and be kind to your wandering mind. Nobody does meditation well. I don't care well, maybe the Dalai Lama, I don't know. But nobody does it well. Look, we're all coming to this with so many different things on our mind. So it might be really hard for somebody if they're taking care of a lot of people doing their state job and they've got kids. I mean, it could be impossible. And let's not forget, I just have to say this out loud, women have been overwhelmingly disproportionately impacted by COVID. So if you sit down, yeah, I get it. Did the kids get fed? Did the laundry get done? Are the assignments done? What about this? What about that? I get all of that, but just be kind to yourself. You know, if you could just give yourself 5 minutes at some point, it doesn't even need to be at a specific time, but I would make it the same time all the time. You know, some people like a morning review, some people like an evening. You decide that. But during that time, you know, you just sit there and you just breathe. Initially, just let your mind go wherever it goes. Focus on your feet. How do they feel? Stretch the feet, wiggle the toes. How do the calves feel? Tense them, release them, tense them, release them. How about the thighs? Tense, release. How about the torso? Maybe we just stretch with our eyes closed and we twist gently back and forth. Focus on the body, focus on the breath. Don't worry so much about the thoughts that are going to come and go. Because here's another tip. If you've never been mindful or had a mindfulness practice, as it were, the minute you stop, all those thoughts that you've been having are going to say, oh, goody. David stopped for a second. Now I can really overwhelm him with things. So don't be surprised if that happens, but that's okay. That is absolutely okay.